From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Well, we may have escaped the winter storm that swept through Texas and other southern states, but that doesn't mean we won't see consequences. Coming up, find out how the woes in Texas could drive up Montana gas prices.
Most of House Bill 102 went into effect last week when it was signed, but not all of it. Coming up, we'll take a look at the impacts this bill will have on Montana's schools.
Well, good morning. It is 6:30 for you on your Tuesday. You're watching Montana This Morning, and we have been chatting about what an interesting drive we had in here, and you're about to have at home if you're getting out and about, right, Matt?
Yeah, the good news is we don't have a lot of active snow falling down in Gallatin Canyon. We're still seeing it in some of the mountain passes, but overall the heavy snow is done. Now it's just slick roads, and unfortunately, that's where bread is buttered here at this point. Mainly dealing with temperatures into the low 30s, upper 20s this morning. Expect to see some slick conditions early on. Again, snow not a big issue. The wind is, active snow rather, isn't a big issue. We do have some slick roads out across the area, just a couple of accidents in the area, so slow down, leave some extra time this morning. Our temperature should be into the low 30s for the afternoon and then fall fairly quickly. Tonight, another round of snow possible. We'll talk about those impacts, of course, in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Matt. Well, this morning's weather could make for a difficult commute for some today. As Matt mentioned, temperatures will be falling, and that means ice will be forming on our roadways.
Now, we spoke with Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Connor Wager yesterday. He says wants to consider when roads become slick. Obviously, check and know what the weather conditions are before you set out on your trip. If you don't have to make a trip in bad weather, don't. He says save those to respond in case of an emergency for emergency travel there. Be prepared for unexpected changes in the weather. He says no matter how good of a driver you are, no matter how good your tires are, and also no matter if you have all-wheel or four-wheel drive, black ice can send you off the road. He also emphasized slow down. Trooper says a majority of issues on the road, he and his law partner see, all due to speed, excessive of that, I would say, especially if you have your cruise control set on slippery roads, which is a really, really, really bad idea.
Really bad idea.
Yeah.
That's one of the first three rules.
Yeah.
Well, you may be able to stand outside a gas station in the days ahead and watch the pump price change by the hour.
Yeah, thanks to the cold snap that plunged parts of Oklahoma and Texas below zero, industry experts predict a 20 to 30 cent a gallon increase in pump prices right away, with $3 a gallon gas likely by Memorial Day. Last week's polar vortex idled 20% of the nation's oil refinery capacity, with Gulf Coast refineries shut down due to power outages and shortages of natural gas. AAA says a recent big chill will push the national average pump price up another 10 to 20 cents from its current level at $2.54 a gallon. That's the national average. Such an increase could put the national average at $2.65 to $2.75 a gallon, its highest level since 2019. Now, GasBuddy.com agrees with the other sources, saying national average could edge close to $3 per gallon by Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, yikes. Well, the passage of House Bill 102 means that some gun laws will change in Montana, especially for schools.
Now, MTN's Matt Hosoffel found out schools in the Montana University system face much different future than those K through 12.
This is a copy of House Bill 102, which allows for permitless concealed carry of firearms in Montana. Now, the text of the bill is important, especially when it comes to the state's schools. Most of the bill went into effect when it was signed last week, but not all of it.
We did know that issue would come up.
Section 6 of the bill goes into effect on June 1st, 2021. That's the section that determines what restrictions a university system can place on firearms on their property.
It is still of concern to us, and the Board of Regents, when the board meets in May, will most likely then give our best effort to reviewing and updating our campus firearms policy.
Kevin says a handful of concerned parents have already contacted the Montana University system regarding the bill. The system's Board of Regents will meet in May to update their firearm policy, but according to the text of the bill, they can only regulate the following actions: the discharging of a firearm, the removal of a firearm on university system property, the pointing of a firearm at another person, the carrying of a firearm outside a dorm without its case or holster, securing of the firearm with a locking device, storage of the firearm in an on-campus dorm without express permission of any roommates, possession of a firearm by anyone with a history of violence or substance abuse, possession of a firearm at an on-campus event where alcohol is being served, and possession of a firearm at a public event with controlled access and armed security present. Several of those conditions come with the caveat of being permitted in self-defense.
It is our job, serving the constituents of all of the above, to make sure that our students have a respectful and safe environment on campus.
Section 4 of the bill gives public school boards the ability to determine which, quote, school buildings are an exception to the concealed carry law, wording that the Montana School Board Association wants cleared up.
The School Administrators Association of Montana have been advocating for is that there is clarity about what constitutes a school building, school property. So Memorial Stadium, for example, is school district property. You can't carry a weapon in a school building, but you can carry a weapon in Memorial Stadium. That doesn't make sense.
It's important to note, too, that the Montana University system has never banned firearms from their campuses, but they previously only allowed police and other security officers to conceal carry weapons. Now they face the task of updating their policies while balancing the rules and regulations that House Bill 102 allows them to put in place with the safety of their staff and students on campus. In Great Falls, Matt Holzaffel, MTN News.
Matt tells us the Montana University system says it was prepared for this. That's because this was not the first time a bill like this had been brought before the Montana legislature.
Well, now a follow-up story. A young bald eagle found itself in a life or death situation last week.
Yeah, was struggling with lead poisoning. Retired school teacher and her husband stumbled across him, barely alive, did everything they could.
Staff at the Montana Raptor Conservation Center say the bird was badly poisoned with lead and unlikely to survive. Our Cody Boyer fills us in on what happened next.
They just went above and beyond to help this bird.
All alone, face down in the snow on the side of the road. A situation that, for most animals, means the end.
Odds of this eagle making it through even a couple nights out there probably would have been slim to none.
In Becky Keene's 18 years at the Montana Raptor Conservation Center, it's a situation that she's seen go the other way many times. Lead poisoning.
Clenched talons, labored breathing, just very lethargic. It eventually gets them down.
We were on our way back from an errand, keeping our eyes open, and went past this brown patch.
That's Julie Betts in Yellowstone County.
My husband said, "Was that what I think it was?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I think so."
Julie and her husband Carrie saw the juvenile bald eagle first, but saw no signs of life.
He was gone. In our opinions, he was gone. My husband just took his foot and gently touched him, and he started breathing.
They had a towel with them at the moment and put him in the back of their seat.
Julie and Carrie immediately called the center in Bozeman, and they knew to. The couple was fresh from saving another bald eagle in the same area, another that they took to Becky too.
This was the second one within 2 weeks. I am just in awe at what they can do. And this raptor was near death.
Julie says eagles, to her, stand for staying strong through anything. So she says this was just her returning the favor.
On our way up there, I would reach back and just kind of gently touch his feathers and just really hoped that he was still alive.
The next 2 nights, Becky says, were tough.
When we got him here, we did not think he was going to make it through the evening.
He just needed a few days. This is how he looks now.
Them finding him that evening was a life-saving, matter for this bird.
He looked like he was raring to go.
Oh my gosh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Becky says the eagle will stay there until he has recovered enough to be released, which could be some time. But the female, that one on the screen, is Julie and Carrie's first rescue, and you can see that she is recovering well. For now, Both Julie and Becky point fingers at who the real heroes might be.
You know, there's a lot of tears that go on with rehab, but this one was the tears of joy. They're the heroes of the day, saving the eagle.
I don't consider us heroes or anything. I don't at all. We were just people that happened to drive by at the right time at the right place. I like to think that anybody would have done the same thing.
Cody Boyer reporting for us there. Now that's just beautiful. Staff at the Montana Raptor Conservation Center say if you ever encounter an eagle that is downed, contact the center immediately.
Amazing work that they've been doing.
I
for
love
a long
it.
Time. Good stuff.
My heart is full.
We hope that eagle does well.
Absolutely.
Soon to be released back into the wild again.
Good vibes for that one.
Nicely done. Good stuff.
Well, coming up here on Montana This Morning, where you work at home determines how well you work at home. Coming up after the break, find out how working from home is affecting different age groups differently.
But first, let's check in with Gail King to see what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning to you. Ahead on CBS This Morning, as the nation mourns the loss of 500,000 Americans to COVID, President Biden and Vice President Harris hold a moment of silence at the White House. See how one major city is trying to ensure that everyone has equal access to the vaccine. Also, only on CBS This Morning, we'll hear from a daughter struggling with the role that her father played in the assault on the Capitol while trying to repair a relationship divided by politics. It's happening to a lot of families. And a California pastor is using the teaching methods of Alcoholics Anonymous to confront racism. In our Unifying America series, we talk candidly with some members of Racist Anonymous. Never heard of Racist Anonymous. We'll see you 7 o'clock on the dot.